Okay, hey, I'm here with Tori, and we're processing her chickens today. She does pastured poultry in her backyard for her family, and so you raise 90 birds, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and you do them pastured in your chicken tractor here.
Yes, I do.
Totally. What are the dimensions of your chicken tractor?
It is 15 by 15.
Cool. So like a little bit bigger than Joel Salatin style, and I like doing a little bigger as well. It's just a little more room for them. But
Exactly.
if you can pull it, perfect, right?
Yep.
And so your husband just pulls it by hand.
Yeah, we use our little four-wheeler.
Little four-wheeler pulls it along.
Yep.
And you ran them through your orchard to fertilize the orchard?
I did, yes. It's the best part about it. And then I don't need to use wood shavings.
Yeah, and then how long have you been doing this?
13 years now.
13 years, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And so what's like the best part for you about raising your own chickens?
Knowing what they eat, where they came from, their care, and that it's done in a sustainable, good way.
Awesome, that's so cool. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys the system here. So here's the chicken tractor, a nice roof, some mesh on the sides to keep them in and to keep the predators out.
Yep.
And then over here you can see the spots where she had the chickens. And so once some rain comes, man, this orchard is gonna be popping. Once that fertility gets washed in and starts mixing, the grass starts growing before winter time. So yeah, definitely really cool being able to move these chicken tractors through the orchard to fertilize all these pear and apple trees. And then over here you can see our processing system. So she pulled the birds out of the chicken tractor and put them in this electric net. And then we put the shelter over them so they stay in the shaded spot instead of trying to escape out of the net for now. And then after I will pick them up right out of here, we'll walk just a couple little steps over here to the kill cones. They'll go in there. Then they come into the trailer, into the scalder. You can hear the propane heating it up. Scalder loosens the feathers. And then they go to this machine, which is the plucker. This spins around. And then that will take all the feathers off. And then it goes out here into this first bin just to cool them down. And then onto the tables. This is where we eviscerate them. And then it'll get a final spray on this table. And then here's the birds that we already did this morning, chilling down. We get them down to like 4 degrees by having them on ice in these bins. And then they're ready to be bagged and into the freezer. So that's kind of how we do chicken processing. Super excited to be here. Tori does a great job with her birds. So it's fun to be processing for a small family. She does 50 birds. Her friend Nicole did 40 birds, and so that's enough to have birds for the whole year for them. So they do one batch, which is enough to feed their families.
Mercedes is on her first day of processing chickens. So here she's pulling the legs off by stretching them fully straight, and then cutting through the tendon on one side, the middle, then the other side, and then cutting straight through between the joint. The trick is really to have good upward pressure holding the leg straight. Now she's cutting the butt off, so this is the tail of the bird. There's a little scent gland in there that we want, an oil gland that we want to remove, so she just removed that. Now she's going to work on the neck. So if you have multiple people doing different stages, the neck is basically one stage. Cut the butt and do the neck. So first stripping everything away from the neck, with one incision down to between the shoulders, stripping everything away from the neck, cutting the tendons around the neck to loosen it. Then one crack back, and you can dislocate the joint. If you dislocate it instead of cutting all the way through the bone, it's much less likely of being sharp. Might puncture a bag later on. So she's just getting a good cut to make sure all those tendons were cut. Now she's digging in each side, trying to expose the breast meat. So pulling all the glands, everything away. The crop on the when you're looking at the bird, it'll be on the left will be the crop, so you'll be getting your fingers behind that and pulling everything straight out away from the neck skin. Pull, pull, pull. Get everything away from there. You want to pull all the glands off so it's just clean skin, and then on both sides you can see the breast meat exposed. Everything else will be pulled out. So right now she has a bunch of like the throat and the windpipe, and so she's holding that all up, and then she'll cut it all off flush, and the rest will be pulled out from the other end. Last check, make sure everything's nice and clean in there. Pull the last little glands out. Now you want to cut the last inch of skin off of the neck because it has been exposed to the bacteria of the scalder, so she's just cutting that excess skin off. You want to leave a good flap for cooking the whole bird, but cut a little bit off. Alright, now to eviscerate. Hold the skin up and do one incision upwards without poking into the intestines. Just get the skin, pull back towards you. Now open it up and then put 2 fingers in there and then spread the intestines away from the butt so that you have a nice little spot where you can put your knife and then cut around the butt. So she's spreading her fingers and then cutting around the butt, making sure that there's a space for the knife where she will not cut the intestines. Right here she's cutting all the way down as deep as she can against the backbone because there's another little gland there. We call it like the rosebud. You have to cut that rosebud out nice and flush against the backbone, but again without hitting the intestines. So she's leaving the butt still intact to one side so that if it does poop, it's going to poop on... Oh, if it does poop, it's going to poop away from her hand and away from the opening. So now she's clearing everything off the top, the liver, and reaching forward to where the lungs are. And so she's digging her fingers into the ribs to clear the lungs out of both sides. And then we'll do one big pull to pull everything out all together. When you go to do the big pull, you reach around everything and kind of do like the ET, spreading your fingers, get on each side of the lungs, around the trachea. At the back there, you can feel like the knob of the neck, and then pull everything out all at once. Just checking for anything else that might be left in there. And now she's going to cut the butt off. Just making sure everything's good. You can see some wasps on this day in the summer, and you can see some wasps occasionally on this summer processing day, and so having fans around helps keep them away. Now she's just scraping the last of like the lungs out from between the ribs, and now she'll cut the butt out, the vent. Trying to leave as much of the fat as possible because the fat is flavor and weight and gravy. And now she's all done. Okay, here's the fast version of how to do this. So this is me doing it. So cut through the legs on either side, bending it back to create good tension. Flip over, do the butt. Oh, first I pull out any fine feathers. So this is kind of the final chance. You really want to separate getting the feathers off because they're kind of a dirtier piece before you go on to the next steps. Get the feathers off and away. Pulling any feathers, any of the yellow skin that might not have come off in the plucker. Pinching any little hair follicles. Okay, knife into the neck. Do a cut of the skin. Clear off both sides of the neck. Cut the neck on both sides, dislocate straight back, cut the neck off. Now putting fingers down to the breast meat, pulling everything away from the neck skin. This side pulling everything away from the crop. Pulling the crop out, cutting the crop and all of that out. Cut the end off of the neck skin. Open the vent. Cut around the vent. Pull a bit of intestines out to make some room. Reach up there, clear the livers across the top. Loosen both lungs and pull everything straight out. Now here I'm cutting the vent right off so everything's separate. Final check and we're done.